Okay, welcome to the live trading here for Friday, October 3rd. Wanted to show you my first trade that started this session here just a couple minutes ago. And just like you've been seeing all week, you can see these solid trend lines are blue. They're up, which is fine. And then I started at 9 o'clock. That's when my trading, the earliest that I will start, exchange time. And we've got about a 2.5 hour morning session, and then there is really up to 3 hours in the afternoon you could trade. I usually only focus on 1 hour in the afternoon and just try to get in obviously my trades. If I start at 9 or 9:30, it just depends on when I get started. Typically I'm just using what we call our power of quitting. So I look just for those 2 wins and a positive result. And ideally I'm done on the morning session. You've seen all week I've been getting done fairly quickly. Started off pretty quick this morning. This candle here, it's a little hard to see. Maybe I should move the vertical line. That's actually a red candle there. In this case, it opened at 94. Sorry, right here. This candle right here is opened at 94.22 and closed at 94.20, so it's red. Also, the directional you may see just turned down. It's red, and one of the trend lines hooked down. So that makes it a valid short for me to take. All I had to do was take a break below the low. I shorted at 94.08 because remember I always put it a nickel below the low. And then I don't like to short like just shy of like a 10 or a 5, meaning 94.10. So that's why I put my stop in at 94.08. And my target, as you can see here, the larger dot down here was 93.82, which I went ahead and hit. So that's overall 26 cents. I had 1 cent of slip, so I ended up making 25 cents on this trade. And now I'm flat, and I'm waiting on my next trade. At this point, there's optional trades. If this pulls back into the trend lines and sets up with a red candle, we have what's called an optional reentry. Don't always take those. A lot of times it depends on the trend. Right now, it doesn't look like there's any really consistent trend, and you never have to take those if you don't want. There's plenty of trades that are, that you always definitely take, and that would require these solid trend lines, not this little directional line in the middle, to turn up to blue and then either give me a buy signal or flip back down to red. So I'll pause the video until something else sets up, and we'll take that trade live. To give you an idea what the optional trades look like that we just talked about, as you can see, as the market continued to come down after our first short, it pulled back in and touched the trend lines, in this case the dash trend lines, and had a setup candle right here, as you can see, and we take a breakout below that. But this is, like I mentioned, an optional trade. I did not take this trade live. I wish I could tell you that I did, because it obviously worked out pretty nicely. As you can see, the short would have been right here, and the ultimate target down here, very large target actually, short at 92.48 with a target at 91.71, would have been a 77-cent profit, and wow, that would have been really nice. That's a $770 move. In this case, we definitely started to really develop a trend before this setup. The only reason I didn't take it is just it's one of those things that I'm only trying to, for this video, take the actual trend line turn trades and not these optional ones, just to kind of show you those which are the easiest ones to have. But this just shows you an idea of some of the nice opportunity that is there, and you can add additional trades to what you do. And it's very basic. I think you can kind of see fairly simply, why this pulls back into the trend line, where the setup candle is, the directional indicator is still clearly down, and now we've got a real trend going, which gives the odds of this trade being successful much, much higher than it was a bit before when we did our short. Remember, we did our short, and I said, well, there's not much of a trend going yet. But notice it didn't pull back here, and then it really started developing the trend, then pulled back, set up, and then, of course, there was a nice breakout back to the downside with a big target. But like I said, I have to tell you, in this case, that I did not take that trade live. I'm just showing you the setup. So for me right now, I've just got the one trade in the books, which is good. It was for, I believe it was 25 cents per contract, 2 contracts, so about $500 up. This would have been worth $770 per contract, and I suppose I could have taken like 1 contract on this rather than the 2, and played it a little safer. And the risk actually was fairly small, because I would just put my risk above this bar here and be able to bring it down from way up here once the trade got going. So knowing the risk reward was that, it was very favorable. Perhaps I probably should have really thought about this one a little bit harder. So anyway, we're waiting for our next official setup, and I'll restart the video when that happens. Okay, I thought I'd show you how one of the reentries would work after this trade here, which we call a wiggle trade. You can see what that takes is the trend line's hooked much earlier, and the directional indicator was down. So we couldn't take the trade as this moved up, but once the directional turns green, I look for this directional indicator to turn green, red, green, and I have a setup. Or If I get a bar that floats above, we kind of call this an island bar, and it pulls back and touches like it does here, if I get a setup candle after that, which I do right here, I can take a breakout above that and take the trade up to the target here. Now when it pulls back, this is what we were talking about before, and touches the trend lines and gives me a setup candle like this, which is a green candle, I can treat this like an optional re-entry trade. And the high there is 93.33, so that's why I placed my stop at 93.38, as you can see. That's live in the market, and we'll go ahead and, if that should hit, my target is up towards 94, 94.03. I'm going to reduce it down a little bit just so I don't need to break 94, the big round number, to get target. We're now long, as you can see. I will increase my target here, and actually I'm going to take a split between the target 1 and target 2. So I'm just going to do a quick little division there, and that's going to be 93.85. So that'll be my target. Should it, rally up, and I'll take that. The reason I'm taking a split is since this is a re-entry, I'm going to be a little more conservative with it. And my stop's going to be a break below the low here, 93.13, which the system has already placed my stop. Actually, it turned out to be dead on. So that's going to be it. So we'll let this trade work itself out, either to target or to stop out. And I'll restart the video once the trade gets moving in either direction. Okay, you can see here that the market came back down, did take out my stop, so I ended up with a loss on that optional re-entry. But I'll take this re-entry one more time if it should set up here, so we'll see what happens. It looks like it's going to set up. It's green. So I'm going to actually replace that trade. I'm going to try it a second time. You never know. But when I get a stop out and I get a new setup bar like I do here, green candle, trend lines up, directional up, the high is 93.30. I add on a nickel, so it's 93.35, and as we mentioned before, I don't typically like the trades ending with 5 or 0, so I just adjusted up a few pennies to 93.38. And we'll see if it triggers again. If it does, which, well, we just triggered there, once again I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to go for the same target. It's right up there. I'll go for 93.85, and hopefully this time we'll get a little better outcome on the trade. And let me figure out where our stop would be since we had a setup here. And the entry was right here. We go 1, 2, 3, and this time I got to adjust that down just a little to 93.09, and that's my stop. And we'll see what happens. Starting to move up here pretty good, but need definitely another big push here. Came pretty close there, just missed it by about 3 cents. I'm definitely going to move my stop here to break even. And I'm even going to lock in. Let's lock in at least 10 cents. Might as well, since we had a good move up there. And hopefully we'll get one final push to the upside on this trade. Close again, 93.81 that time. So still trying to get a few more cents out of it. If we don't get it on this little push here, I'll probably just close it out since I'm only a couple pennies away. So I'm going to give it probably to the, well, there it is. Profit. Beautiful. So nice recovery there. After this one, we ended up losing. Let's see what we lost on this one. Again, we lost, actually, I'll put the vertical line on for you so you can kind of see that. So we entered here, 93.38. We stopped out at 93.13. Okay, so 93.38 minus 93.13 is a 25-cent loss. However, I came back with 93.38, and I got to 93.85. So I made 47 cents on the second trade. So you can see I had a loss on this first one, but then the second one was a nice big winner. So a loss and a win, and I ended up net on that 22 cents. That's $220 per contract. So a good example why I come back and take that next trade when it sets up. I just got wiggled out of it a little bit, when it kind of spiked it back down for a bit, but no problem. I stayed calm, take the next setup, and obviously we got rewarded nicely on that trade. So that actually gives us our 2 wins to go with our 1 loss on the session. So we could certainly stop there. For me today, that's about 54 minutes in. This trade that I showed you, like I said, I didn't take this one live either. I was just trying to show you the trendline trades, but you saw that there was actually a couple additional opportunities, like this big re-entry trade that we talked about. This, what we call directional trade, a directional island trade. So you had a couple extra option in there as well. Not really optional trades, but a couple extra possible trades And then, of course, I just took these two trades live, which you saw. So, good day overall. Nice to be done in under an hour. Pretty nice little profit. Overall, ended with 47 cents per contract. That's $470 per contract. I can definitely keep going. There's still another hour and a half to go in this trading session. So that's, of course, up to you. Some people like to trade through the entire session. Some people like to use the power of quoting, get in, get out, and be done. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up there. I'll get it posted on the blog. And hope you've enjoyed watching the trades live this week. Obviously, all 5 days we had success, which is great. And I don't think there was a day that we went over an hour in the market. So that's it. Hope you learned something, and we'll talk to you soon.